Is the housing market going to crash here in Southern Oregon? The news seems to think there's no avoiding it no matter where you live, but I'm going to share what I think and why so that you have good information to base your important life decisions on. We're going to dive into that as soon as I share some data with you. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Brian Simmons here with eXp Realty in Southern Oregon. It's October 19th, and I am super happy to be back with you. Before we dive into the data, if you could do me a quick favor and just click on that like button, hit the subscribe icon, and share this video with anybody you know who is looking to buy or sell real estate here in Southern Oregon. I'd really appreciate that. And if you are looking to find out what your home's worth or do some house hunting, check out my website, buyingsouthernoregon.com, or look in the description of this video for some super helpful links. Now, let's dive right into the data and see what happened over the last week here in the Southern Oregon market. We're looking at Jackson and Josephine counties, single-family residential homes only. We had 1,192 active single-family residential listings on the market this morning. Okay, that's basically the same as we had last week. 95 new listings hit the market, 111 price changes, 38 went back on the market, 83 went pending, 94 closed, 63 expired, withdrawn, or canceled, and that all brings us to a total of 12.6 weeks worth of inventory if we were to look at just the snapshot of the 1 week, which is about 3 months worth of inventory. So that's a lot of numbers, and we went through it pretty quick. But the long and the short of it is that we're seeing what we would expect to see this time of the year. In the fall, we always see it slow down a little bit. And the seasonal slowdown right now is compounded a little bit by the higher mortgage rates, okay? And there is an effect there, for sure, no question. But it is not as significant as you might think. And to illustrate that, I'll share a little bit of data with you. And that is that since mid-June, when things really started to kind of be felt with the higher rates, since then, we close on average every week 7.6% of the available inventory. Okay, that closed. Last week, we closed 7.9. So basically the exact same. In that same amount of time, that same time period, pendings were on average 9% of inventory. Okay, 9% of the available inventory went pending every single week. Last week, we were about 7. All right, about 7% of inventory. So not a massive slowdown, not what people seem to think is happening, okay? And that brings me to the next question that people are asking, which is, what will the housing market do in Southern Oregon? Will it crash in Southern Oregon? And that's what I want to talk about for a sec. Of course, I have to say I don't know, because nobody knows, but I'll definitely give you better than that, all right? The housing market is undoubtedly being affected by the rising mortgage rates. There's no question, okay? When rates go up, payments go up, that affects affordability. Buyers want to kind of hang on and wait and see what happens. Less buyers want to buy, right? And so demand goes down, right? That's what ends up happening. Demand goes down for buyers who need a loan, which is the majority. And when demand goes down, then that means sellers have to make their offering more attractive to the buyers and try to entice a buyer to come buy their property. And that's typically done by lowering the price or providing some sort of a big concession like a seller credit or helping them to buy down their rate, okay, to address the affordability problem. In a market where there's a lot of supply, the sellers start competing against each other to make their offer more attractive to the buyer, okay? And that creates a race to the bottom, and that is what leads to a reduction in home values, okay? That is happening in a lot of markets that are the ones you see on the news: Boise, Reno, Vegas, San Jose, Denver, like those types of markets that had this big boom. Those are the ones that are feeling that squeeze right now. Those are the ones that had the big national builders, D.R. Horton, Lennar, Toll Brothers, that came in and blew out these giant communities. And now they're sitting on a lot of inventory and they're thinking, dang, we got to slash our prices to get this stuff sold. So what I've been hearing is that a lot of the construction in those areas has stopped and they're now just going into the let's try to sell everything we have mode. And that creates a race to the bottom amongst them, which drives the whole market down in those areas, okay? The problem there also is compounded by the fact that a lot of those buyers that are coming into those markets are relocation buyers, okay, moving from out of the state into those markets. And a lot of that has slowed down in the kind of post-COVID world where a lot of people are wanting to be more rural. So what does that mean for Southern Oregon? Okay, we are considered one of those rural markets, okay? So that's good for us. We also don't have any of these national builders who have flooded our inventory with new construction. Okay, we don't have a huge supply of available homes to purchase. We don't have a market that is dependent on only relocation buyers. We have plenty of them, for sure, no question about that. But our market's not dependent on them, in my opinion. And like I said, we are considered one of those rural areas. So we have all of these things going for us that are, unique to Southern Oregon. In addition, our cost of living is a lot less than our bigger neighboring states, Washington and California, okay? Which is important because if somebody wants to relocate and stay on the West Coast so that they're close to their family, we're in an inexpensive area relative to those other areas with a fantastic climate. And if you think about the West Coast, where else can you get a great climate with good health care that's inexpensive relative to Washington and California? Where can you get those things? You're not going to the coast because the climate sucks. You're not going to go north of Roseburg because, again, it's like a rainforest. Let's rule out Eastern Oregon because, let's be honest, Californians aren't relocating to Burns. Bend's maybe, but it's probably not the most affordable, but maybe relative to those other ones. So let's say Bend's a good option too. And that basically leaves Southern Oregon, right? So you have somewhat Bend maybe and Southern Oregon as the premier affordable destinations on the West Coast for someone leaving California or Washington. Okay, so what that means for us in Southern Oregon is that the demand for homes here is going to stay healthy and it's going to stay strong. And that's what we've seen in the data that I just shared with you, that we're still maintaining a pretty good level of buying activity relative to our inventory levels. Okay, that's still happening. That's not happening in those other markets. Okay. And I think that it's going to stay that way, right? I think that the supply isn't going to increase because, again, we don't have any of those national builders. We don't have anybody doing that kind of building here. We have some builders that do a pretty good amount of building, but nothing compared to what they're doing in those big areas. So what we have here is a bit of an anomaly, in my opinion, because those underlying economic conditions and all those factors that I explained, because of those reasons, Southern Oregon is positioned very, very nicely to be able to take on the current market conditions without experiencing a crash. And could prices come down a little bit? Sure, of course. But will they crash 20%? I don't think so. I'd be willing to bet that they go down 50% in those other markets before they go down 20% in this market. Don't be afraid to buy. Don't be afraid to sell. Think about what your goals are, what your needs are for yourself, for your family. And if you need a bigger home, you want that dream home that you deserve, get it. It's still a good time to do that. And think about the long-term holding. Think about the long-term benefits of those things, and not just the short-term rates right now. Okay, there's a lot of benefit to be had by getting yourself into a better situation for your home, for your family, and enjoying those benefits for time to come. Okay, so I hope all that information was helpful for you. Again, if you're looking to do some house hunting or you want to know what your home's worth, check out my website, buyingsouthernoregon.com, or the description of this video has some really good links for you. And again, please don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe icon and share this video with anybody you know who is looking to buy or sell real estate here in Southern Oregon. Again, I'm Brian Simmons with eXp Realty. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week. Have a good one.